A single pipe buried in your own backyard can pull cold air out of the ground and pump it straight into your house for less than the price of running a light bulb. No compressor, no refrigerant, no monthly bill that creeps up every summer. Just dirt doing a job you've been paying a machine to do since you were a kid. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly how it works and exactly how to build one. Here's the problem. Most of us are stuck with, every July, the same routine plays out. The AC unit outside your house grinds on nonstop. Your electric bill climbs, and every 10 to 15 years, you're writing a check for a new compressor or a refrigerant recharge because the old one finally gave out. It's not that air conditioning doesn't work. It clearly does. It's that the entire system is built to wear down. Filters, coolant, motors, all of it degrading a little more with every cooling season, all of it needing replacement on a schedule that never seems to end. You pay once to install it, and then you keep paying, year after year, for the rest of its short life. But a few feet under your lawn, there's a resource doing absolutely nothing with its potential. The ground beneath your feet barely changes temperature at all, no matter what the thermometer says on the surface. And it turns out, if you know how to tap into that, you can move air through it and use the earth itself as your cooling system. It sounds almost too simple, and that's exactly why most homeowners have never heard of it. This isn't some brand new invention dreamed up in a lab. People in the desert regions of ancient Persia were already using this trick more than 2,000 years ago, in places where summer temperatures blew past 100 degrees Fahrenheit with no relief in sight. Persian engineers dug long underground channels called qanats, tapping into cooler groundwater and channeling air along with it for miles beneath the sand, paired with tall wind-catching towers called badgirs, which funneled hot desert wind down into those cool tunnels. Entire buildings stayed livable without a single moving part. Some of these systems are still standing today, and in 2016, UNESCO recognized a set of historic Persian qanats as World Heritage Sites, a nod to just how enduring the engineering really was. The Persians weren't the only ones who figured this out either. Roman builders used underground galleries and shaded arcades called cryptoporticus to keep certain buildings cool, and centuries later, during the Arab period in Sicily, underground water channels were built beneath Palermo to feed a passive cooling room known today as the Stanza dello Scirocco, still standing inside the Zisa Palace. Different cultures, different centuries, but they all landed on the same basic trick. Let the ground do the work. So why does this actually work? It comes down to one simple fact about how heat moves through soil. Go down just a few feet, and the ground stops reacting to the weather above it. Surface temperatures swing wildly, blazing hot in July, freezing in January, but a few feet below, none of that reaches you. The soil settles into something close to your region's year-round average temperature and just stays there. Think of it like a giant flywheel of thermal energy, too massive to spin up or down quickly, no matter what's happening on the surface. So if you push hot summer air through a long buried pipe, the surrounding cool earth pulls the heat out of it along the way, the same way a cold glass of water sweats when it pulls heat out of the warm air around it. By the time that air reaches the far end of the pipe, it's noticeably cooler than when it went in. Run the same setup in winter, and the process flips. The ground actually warms the incoming cold air instead. One buried pipe, doing two jobs, all year. Given how well documented all of this is, you'd think it would be standard in every new home built in a hot climate. It isn't, and the reason has less to do with the science and more to do with how the HVAC industry is built. Modern air conditioning is a massive global market, and it's structured around recurring revenue. Units that need replacement every 15 to 25 years, refrigerant that needs recharging, filters that need swapping, service contracts that need renewing. And that's not a conspiracy, it's just how the business works, and it works well for the companies selling it. An underground pipe system, by contrast, is close to the opposite of a good business model. You dig the trench once, you lay the pipe once, and if it's done right, it can keep functioning for decades with almost no maintenance beyond an occasional fan replacement. There's no recurring part to sell. On top of that, building codes haven't caught up. The residential code books that inspectors work from simply don't have a standard section for these systems, so when something isn't explicitly written into the code, the default answer from an inspector is usually no, not because it's unsafe, but because nobody's written the rule yet that says it's fine. That gap matters, because there's one real safety concern worth taking seriously here, and it's radon. The EPA estimates radon exposure contributes to roughly 21,000 lung cancer deaths a year in the United States. And any pipe that runs through soil and connects to your home's air supply needs to be designed with that in mind. Europe actually got ahead of this decades ago. After some rough early installations in Austria, Denmark and Germany ran into condensation and mold issues in the 1990s, engineers there worked out proper standards. And earth-air heat exchangers have been a normal part of residential ventilation design in parts of Europe ever since. Some public and commercial buildings in North America have adopted similar systems too, using buried tube arrays tied into their ventilation to pre-cool or pre-warm incoming air before it reaches the mechanical room, cutting the load on their regular HVAC equipment. The exact energy savings vary a lot by building, climate, and design, so treat any single number you hear quoted online with some skepticism. But the underlying approach is real, and it's been used at real scale. If you want to try this yourself, here's the honest version of how it's done. Start by checking your county on the EPA's radon zone map, because that determines how careful you need to be. Check your soil type too, since dense clay and moist soil transfer heat far better than dry, sandy ground. And know your climate, because in hot, humid regions like the Gulf Coast or Florida, humidity becomes the harder problem to solve, not just temperature. For the pipe itself, use smooth-walled PVC or HDPE, at least 6 inches in diameter. Never corrugated pipe, since ridges inside a corrugated tube trap condensation and become a breeding ground for mold. Run somewhere between 100 and 200 feet of pipe if you can. Bury it at least 6 feet deep and slope the entire run at a steady grade toward one low point so any moisture drains to a single collection spot instead of pooling inside the tube. Bed it on a few inches of compacted sand. Backfill carefully so there are no air gaps hugging the pipe, and seal every underground joint completely, since those seals are your barrier against both radon and groundwater. On the intake end, the vertical riser should sit at least a foot above ground level with a screened downward-facing cap, positioned well away from your driveway or any exhaust vents. Inside the house, tie the tube into a heat recovery or energy recovery ventilator rather than blowing it straight into a room. Add an inline fan, a condensate trap, and a filter on the discharge side. And regardless of what your local radon zone says, install a continuous radon monitor in that mechanical space. If your area has a genuinely elevated radon risk, and you'd rather not deal with air moving through buried pipe at all, there's a safer variation. Circulate a water glycol mixture through a sealed buried loop instead of air, and run it through a heat exchanger inside the house. You lose a little of the thermal benefit, but you eliminate the radon pathway and the condensation risk entirely, and it stays well within existing plumbing codes almost everywhere. None of this makes central air conditioning obsolete, and it isn't a permanent fix-it once and never think about it. Again, solution either, it still needs monitoring, proper drainage, and respect for the radon question. But it's a reminder that some of the best engineering already exists. Buried under our feet, worked out by people with no electricity and a lot of patience, thousands of years before anyone patented a refrigerant. The ground under your yard is roughly the same temperature it was 2,000 years ago, and it's still willing to do the work if you're willing to dig for it. This has been Hidden Fix Lab, and I'll see you in the next one.